here. So let's talk all about self-discipline. Like I said, I was really excited about this one just because I love talking self-development. And I think it's sometimes a key when we're trying to make changes, right? We're looking for results to make change, right? Which is very difficult. We're not, as much as people love to do things that are different or they love variety, we're really creatures of habit, right? So it gets very difficult when we want to make changes to anything, our lifestyle, our habits, our body, right? Our thinking. So, okay. So in terms of self-discipline, I don't think it's a secret that that's one of the keys to results. There is going to be discipline that's needed when we're making change, because like I said, we're creatures of habit. We like doing what we're comfortable with, what we're used to. And clearly, if we're looking to, let's say, have some, new results happen, then we need a new way of doing something, right? And it's going to probably require us doing things we don't like, or possibly just changing, again, how we think about something or execute on something. So for a lot of us, it's not really starting, it's the maintaining, right? Especially those of us who love change, who love novelty, right? We're good in the beginning. We're gung-ho. We're all about it. And then at some point we fade out, right? So this is where self-discipline, kind of has to come into play. Now, part of that, though, is willpower. And I see that kind of interchanged. Willpower, self-discipline. Let's just make a distinction here that willpower is more about the immediate, in the moment, right? When we're faced with a decision. Will I eat the donut or not? Will I work out or not? Where self-discipline is more long-term. What are the habits that we have in place that over the long term, right, are going to give us our results? A side note too, your self-discipline or your ability to create more self-discipline can override willpower. And so it's actually more powerful, right? If I have learned to cultivate self-discipline, we can then work on that willpower piece. So I just wanted to kind of make that distinction before we kind of jump in here. But either way, when we're talking self-discipline, we're talking willpower, we're really looking at how do we change our behavior and ultimately really delay gratification. That's where it happens, right? We have to be able to learn to delay gratification. So I think the first question that I came across, so I'm always researching, and then I outline these trainings that I do, looked at why is self-discipline so darn hard? And an interesting thing came up as I was looking through things, and it came up with the idea that it might not actually be the self-discipline itself. There may be things that are lacking that are leading to what you perceive as a lack of self-discipline, right? And so it may not be the discipline part. It just may be some other things that you're missing that are not allowing you to have that. So let's talk about those things. And I have 6 things listed here. So number 1 is lacking really clear goals. And I find that this happens to me all the time. If I have not really identified exactly what I am trying to accomplish, it's really hard to be consistent. It's really hard to show up day in and day out if I don't know exactly what I'm trying to do here, right? So for example, I talk to people all the time. Hey, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? And a lot of times, I just want to be healthier. I want to increase my fitness. I want to be more fit, or I just want to lose weight. There's nothing wrong with those goals, except that they're very vague, and they don't really tell you when you've actually accomplished that goal. It's very vague in terms of how do I accomplish that? How do you get healthier, right? Where is the baseline? What then is healthier for you? Do you need to keep going? When can you stop, right? You can't actually answer any of the questions that would tell you you've accomplished your goal, right? So number 1, we want to get really clear. What is it that you really want? Really dig even further. This is the second piece to this, is why? Why do you want this? Because let's just be clear. It's going to get hard. It's going to get tough. Life is going to throw you all kinds of curveballs. We've had trainings on that, right? That's just a given. Those are the things we can actually count on. Life will come in and disrupt your flow. So you have to be clear, why do I even want this? If you're going to be vague and say, I just want to be healthier, and you have no parameters for what that means, and then life gets in the way of your eating healthy, like, and like you don't even know why you're doing that, like it's going to fade. Yeah, absolutely. Momentum is going to go out the door. It's not going to be something you'll be able to sustain, right? Like there's just going to be no motivation there, right? So you need to really dig. So I've had some conversations with clients before where I'm like, okay, let's just get into this. Like, why do you even want this? Why are we here? And I remember a conversation with someone where it was just about losing weight at first. And then as we dug, it was like, well, okay, I am like pre-diabetic and, that's concerning. I'm like, okay, well, let's dig deeper. Like, why is that concerning? I mean, obviously we don't want to have health issues, but like, why? Like, what is it that you're really afraid of? And we dug and dug. And then it became like, well, I have a family history and I've seen, family members have to go through some pretty terrible stuff having to deal with diabetes. And then it came out that her mom passed away from complications. And I was like, okay, and then it became like, well, that's kind of where I'm coming. Like, I want to be alive for my kids, and I don't want that to happen to them. Like, great. That's a phenomenal why, So now think about, can you stick to your goals if that's your why? Your why is like, I want to live long for my kids. I want to be healthy. I want to be a part of their life. Now it's like, okay, sure, weight loss is part of that, but like there's a much deeper reason why we want this. And like when it gets tough, because it'll be so much easier to keep going. So really dig into like, why do you want what you're going after? Because that's going to be a huge piece of like what keeps you going and helps you make the decisions that'll, keep progress going. Keep in mind too, that there's not a lot of like instant gratification in this kind of process. It does take time. And so this is why being clear about why you're doing this and what you want is really important. Okay, so that's just number one. You need a clear goal. Two, with that, you need a clear plan. Like, how are you going to get there now? It's tough to just say like, okay, let's take a financial goal. Like, I want to save up. Let's just say I want to get out of debt. Great. Okay, so that's a decent goal. I mean, at least there is some kind of thing that we can measure that we've actually accomplished it. But how are we going to get there? Right. And part of it is like when you're in debt, there's going to be a lot of time where you're just paying off the debt, where there's no return on that investment immediately. Like you're just paying out money, right? And you're just reducing the debt, but like you're not really getting anything in that moment out of that except reduced debt. But it doesn't feel great. Like you're probably even putting more money towards that at that moment, right? And like there's nothing really to show for what you're doing. And so you have to understand that like what you're doing, it will accumulate at some point, right? And so you need a plan. And in that plan, you need to have milestones, right? And those milestones are what are going to help you continue to move forward. Those are going to help you see the progress that you are making. It just might not like feel great in the moment and it might not feel super tangible, but you're going to want those milestones to help you go, oh, hey, look what I've accomplished. I'm already like, I just eliminated $5,000 of debt. I still have 30,000 more, but hey, like 5,000 is gone, right? And now 10,000 is gone. Now I only owe 20,000, right? And those milestones will help you, kind of propel yourself and keep going, right? So you need a clear plan. You need in that plan to have many goals along the way to keep you, I guess motivated is the word I want, so that you see that like what you're doing actually is resulting in something fruitful. All right. Third, and I think this one is huge and not really talked enough about in terms of like self-discipline, and that's having low self-confidence. You have to believe that you can accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Now, you may not be the person yet. You may not have the skills. You may not even have the strategies yet to accomplish whatever that is, but you need to believe that it's possible to get there, right? Because if you don't, you will self-sabotage. That is what you will do. Your brain will not allow you to fail on purpose. It really is a protective mechanism. So we have to kind of look at it that way, that when we self-sabotage, a lot of times it's really just self-preservation. Your body, your mind doesn't like you to fail, just like you don't like to experience that failure, right? So we have to sometimes start with just our mindset. Like, do we even believe this is possible? Now, I really firmly believe in having, in cultivating, I guess I should say, a mindset that allows your success to happen. Now, I know there's a lot of like talk in like the like or the manifestation world, like, oh, I'm just going to manifest what I want, those dreams. And I think they're onto something in terms of like your mind has to be on board, but I don't think it's magic either. I don't think we get to just say like, I will have my dream body, right? Like, or, I will be a millionaire or, whatever it is your goal is. I don't know. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. What I think though is helpful, and I heard this from another coach, is not necessarily telling yourself those things, because your brain is going to automatically be like, that's a lie. I am not a millionaire right now. I do not have my dream body. Like, why am I telling myself this? Right. But instead, you change that self-talk to, I am working hard to be a healthy person. I am working hard to lose 50 pounds. I am working hard to become financially free. Right. And in that, that's not a lie. And that's something your brain can wrap itself around. Like, okay, I'm working towards it. There's something I have to do, by the way. And I am becoming that person, right? Rather than the negative self-talk a lot of us have, like, I'm worthless. I could never do that. That's for someone else, that I just could never accomplish those things, right? And so I think looking at this in terms of like, okay, what is your self-belief, first of all? And then can we start changing it? But let's be realistic. Again, I'm not asking you to believe in magic or, lie to yourself. No, tell yourself, I am working really hard to become XYZ, whatever it is that you want to accomplish, right? And so a lot of times, our lack of self-discipline is really just a fear of failure. Again, it's us using self-sabotage to protect ourselves because we don't really want to fail. And so if we can start to believe like, no, I actually am smart enough to learn the skills and strategies I need to become this person, you will then act in accordance, right? You will act in a way where you are that person who takes failure, who takes experience, and then, kind of takes that in and then uses that to continue their progress and their growth. So I think too, part of this is that like we may also just need help, right? Like we may need to bring someone else into this equation to help us just undo some of the negative self-talk that a lot of us have. And I think that's okay. So we're going to want to go ahead and allow that piece to just really sink in. Like, do we need to work on just the mindset piece, right? I'll also go back to the last thing, having a clear plan that has mini goals or milestones. You can actually build self-confidence by proving to yourself when you hit those milestones, in the case of like getting out of debt, like, oh my gosh, I already eliminated $5,000. Let's keep going, right? You're actually creating some of the self-confidence that you need. So another reason why, like, just keeping those milestones and, breaking up your larger goal into smaller goals and getting yourself there. Okay. Number 4, this is going to sound like way off topic, but I promise it applies. And that's, you're just sleep deprived. Look at it is really hard to make good decisions when you're sleep deprived. Right. It's hard to resist temptation. It's just really hard to make decisions, like, period. And your willpower, which, remember, we talked about willpower is more like in the moment, that is absolutely impacted by being sleep deprived. In fact, when you're sleep deprived, there is like prefrontal dysfunction. Like, you don't operate on all cylinders. You do not have the ability to regulate your emotion really well and your attention either. That's just part of like what happens when you're not giving yourself enough sleep. In fact, in the research, they'll say that when you are sleep deprived, which is really like less than 6 hours, like chronically over time, you're kind of in a state of like being drunk almost. Like, it's that same idea that you just don't have all your faculties, and we feel it, right? And so in that moment, you will seek the path of least resistance. Because it's just the easier thing to do. You're tired, right? You don't have your full functioning. You're not able to regulate emotions. And so you will be very inclined to just do the easy thing, right? So get your sleep. It's definitely impacting your discipline, your ability to be disciplined. Okay, number 5, you don't have established routines. Now, this is it's tough because some, will say, well, yeah, like that's why I'm not disciplined, have routines. Kind of like the chicken or the egg. Is it because I don't have routines that I am not self-disciplined, or, vice versa? But here's the thing, like we're good at doing something once, like we can accomplish one off task, whatnot. What's difficult for us is creating routine, like doing this day in and day out, right? And we struggle really with the ability to create routine for 3 main reasons. Number 1, decision fatigue. Very successful people, if you've ever like read biographies, or you just like have ever really looked into like really, really successful people, like what do they do, right? So like Steve Jobs comes to mind. That guy wore literally the same thing like every day. And he did that on purpose. He did that so that was one less decision he had to make. I know like 2 of my former mentors talked endlessly about how like they specifically would also like eat the same thing every day, right? And they would go to bed at the same time every day. And like they just had certain routines that just were like non-negotiable. And part of that is like the decision fatigue. Like they just don't want to make that decision every single day. And they want to, what you're really doing is you're just allowing space for your mind to make other decisions, right? You want your energy going where it needs to be put, right? And so certainly I've actually tried this. I don't like wearing the same thing every day, but instead what I decided was like on Sunday night, I just plan all my outfits for the week. So I get every shirt and pant bottom that goes with it, put them together. And then I have it done every morning. I just go grab and put it on. It's one less decision I have every day. And wow, it literally just opened up so much more like space for me to just put my mind somewhere else. Okay, what needs to get done today, right? And I'm not sitting there like, well, I like this shirt, but like it doesn't really go with these pants, right? Like that's all been done and taken care of. It's also why personally, like I just eat the same breakfast and lunch every day because I just don't want to have that decision. I know what works for me in terms of my goals and what I'm trying to accomplish in terms of food. I also have a 9-to-5 job where like I'm eating at work, breakfast and lunch. I don't need like this amazing experience in terms of food. I just need to get the food in, and I need the right foods coming in. And so I literally just eat the same breakfast and the same lunch. And I pre-plan those. I pre-make my breakfasts, lunches. I put them together on Sundays, right? And that has now opened up again this whole part where I don't have to make those decisions or wonder, am I going to hit my macros? Am I going to hit my targets? It's just a done deal. So decision fatigue, right? You can only make so many decisions a day, unfortunately. So take off ones that you don't need to be making, right? Make things easier for yourself. Because again, this path of least resistance, you will always choose the easy thing. You will always choose what you're most comfortable with and what doesn't require as much effort. So if you can predetermine certain responses or just decisions ahead of time, great. It's going to serve you for a very long time to come. So that's one reason we struggle with routine. The second is just cognitive load. So kind of goes with decision fatigue. Most of us are very preoccupied with a zillion things. A lot of us deal with like racing thoughts at night, right? And it's hard to go to sleep because we're just thinking about all these things. And so that is all cognitive load. That's mental stress that we have. So if we have to now make another decision, it's path of least resistance. It's not going to be as easy to make that decision when we've already got a ton of things on our mind. Like, oh, I don't want to have to decide what to eat tonight. I don't want to, right? And a lot of times like it comes down to like, forget it. What do we have? What's easy, right? Let's just go to McDonald's. Let's just do the easy thing because I just cannot take another thing to have to like worry and think about. The last reason for struggling with routine really is what we would call like the snowball effect. And this is where like when you miss one day, it gets really easy to skip another and another and another, right? And it just snowballs, right? It just gets easier and easier to not do the new thing, the new habit. And so you may have heard, I don't remember where I heard this, but certainly this is not unique to me. You have the mindset of like, never skip 2 days in a row. Never. Don't let it happen, because of this effect where like momentum will start going very easily in the wrong direction, right? And you've probably struggled to get momentum going in one direction, but like it literally just takes one day to just start this effect that again will snowball in the wrong direction. So, never skip 2 in a row. If you skip a day at the gym, that's fine. It's not like that's the end of the world. But what we don't want is to skip 2 days or 3, right? Because it just gets easier and easier to stay away, and then harder and harder to restart that whole process. This is also kind of like, it does roll into like all or nothing thinking, where we just think, well, I already had, let's say, 1 donut, so my diet's ruined, so I might as well just eat whatever I want for the rest of the day. No, right? So we got to really pull back in terms of like, that was just one moment, a very small part of, let's say, your whole day and your whole process. So, all right, the last thing that might actually be the problem in terms of like, it's not self-discipline, you might be missing this, is your environment. Your environment actually might be sabotaging your ability to be disciplined and to use, or to have, I should say, willpower, right? Let me give you an example. Do you think that when you go to the store and you buy a candy bar, you bought that candy bar because you actually wanted that candy bar? I'm sure you think you did. I'm sure you're like, no, I bought that Twix because I love Twix. And you may do love Twix. They're delicious, by the way. But no, you bought that candy bar because the grocery store created an environment that promoted candy sales. It's on purpose. It's called marketing, right? You probably would not have sought out that candy bar on your own, but because it was placed in your line of sight, right? As you were checking out, you had probably 2 aisles of candy next to you, and you just stood there looking at it as you were about to, purchase your groceries. That is very intentional, very, very intentional. So be very, I guess, clear about your environment, especially the environments you spend a lot of time in, right? The most disciplined people, like the people you're like, man, they are just like, they've got so much willpower, and you're very like in awe of them and like inspired by them. Those people actually use the least amount of willpower and self-discipline. And that's because they have set up their environments to work for them. They are not constantly putting themselves in situations where they have to make these decisions, right? They stay out of temptation, tempting, I guess, situations, or they have predetermined responses, right? They have been very proactive about how to actually go about those types of situations, right? Like their environment specifically, right? So I used to teach a class, and we would talk about how to like set up your environment. And I would tell them like, put all like the good food, like the fruits, the veggies, the things you want to eat, the healthy food that we're trying to encourage you to eat. You want that like as soon as you open your refrigerator, that should be the first thing you see, right? So you want it like front and center. Anything that's just, we'll just say less nutritious, you want to make that harder for you to obtain and see, right? Put it in a pantry behind a door where you're not constantly seeing it, right? When you come home, what's the first thing you see, right? The food you see is going to highly impact what you snack on. A lot of us like to snack when we get home from work, right? So put fruit out, have that be the first thing you see. Design your environment to cue you for the things you actually want to consume. Don't have out the candy bars. Don't have out the popcorn. Don't have out the things that, like, let's say possibly you tend to overeat, or you have a troubled, let's say, relationship with. Keep those away. Out of sight, out of mind is absolutely true. So you want to be really intentional about that. You can take that even further. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Have them ready to go. You'll be more likely in the morning. Let's say you're going to work out in the morning, to put it on and then go work out, right? Or in my case, I work out after school. I pack it in my backpack so that it's there and ready to go. Now, like, I have no excuse. I wasn't like so late in the morning that I couldn't get it together. Right. I have it. I also have now a set of gym clothes at work in case I do forget. Right. I'm just like setting myself up. And every time I open my closet at work, I'm like, oh, there's my gym clothes. I should go work out. Right. I am like cueing myself to the things I want to be doing. Right. Another one, like if I always encourage clients, drink water as soon as you wake up. So like put a bottle of water or a glass of water at your bedside. So as soon as you wake up, what's the first thing you see? The water, and then you down it, right? Again, use the fact that you are very visual and that the things that are in your line of sight will have an impact on your decisions. So make that work for you. There's no reason to fight it. We have absolutely all control in terms of like how we can create and like be the architect of our environment. So, all right, that is it for tonight. Look, here's my message. Everyone is actually capable of self-discipline. We have the capability, right? If you get number one to the root of why you're actually struggling. So maybe it's not that you lack self-discipline. Maybe it's that like you're missing one of these things we talked about, right? Maybe you just don't really know what your goals are. They're too vague, right? So get specific on that. Maybe you just don't have a clear plan of action. If you don't see how you're going to get from point A to point Z, right? And within that, you need to build in some milestones so that you do feel progress along the way. Because for most people, goals take a long time. They're not 3 weeks. They're not just 30 days. So build that in to your plan. Alongside, make sure like, do you even have a mindset that you believe this is possible for you specifically, right? So look at your belief system. Make sure that you're talking to yourself in a way, again, we're not trying to lie to ourselves, but where you tell yourself, hey, like I am actively working on becoming a healthier person. I am actively learning how to take care of myself. I am smart enough and to use all my failures and all my knowledge to, gain the experience that I need in order to accomplish XYZ, right? Tell yourself those things. And create a belief system that actually will help you not self-sabotage, right? Because a lot of times, right, our lack of self-discipline really comes down to possibly like a fear of failure. Like we don't want to fail. And nobody wants to fail. Get enough sleep. You are basically creating more friction when you are sleep deprived. It's very hard to make decisions and make good decisions and stay out of temptation's way when we're sleep deprived. Establish those routines, right? You cannot make a million decisions every day, so make sure you're not creating a situation where you've got decision fatigue, high cognitive load, right? And that you also utilize the idea of like the snowball effect, that you don't allow too many days in a row. I would just say, like the saying, don't skip 2 days in a row, because that momentum, that backsliding happens real fast. So don't allow that to, take over. All right. And last, be really intentional about your environment. You are the architect of your environment. Put out insight the things you want to focus on. Put the things that are tripping you up away, out of sight, out of mind. Absolutely. Use that to your advantage. In the opposite, by putting in sight the things that, definitely are going to, propel you forward. So, all right, that's what I got for you guys today. I hope that was super helpful. I think self-discipline is something that can be taught. It's not genetic. It's not that some people have more of it. It's just that they've cultivated, a lifestyle that actually creates and supports self-discipline rather than having to work against it. So. All right. Have a lovely, lovely Monday. And actually, no, it's Tuesday. I'm just used to having these on Monday. A lovely Tuesday. And I'll see you guys again next